Oh, yeah, no, I put
Put
it in
tires.
automatic. Tires are new.
Okay.
That's okay.
Call to order. Was the pledge done
Yes.
with you guys?
Yes.
We'll forego the pledge. It has been done with the Public Works meeting. Roll call.
Road Commissioner Calhoun,
Here.
Drain Commissioner Christensen,
Present.
Road Commissioner Greenan,
Here.
Road Commissioner Joyce,
Present.
Road Commissioner Makowski,
Here.
and Road Commissioner Popa.
Present.
All present.
Thank you. That brings us to the agenda late additions or deletions. Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have an agenda. Minutes. Now we have notes. And I don't know about minutes from the last meeting.
There are two sets. Today, Steve, it's from the July sessions of July 6th and the special session of July 28th.
Did those go out via email?
I believe so, yes.
How did they look, John?
Well, I only got the one for the special session. Is the regular session up there?
There was copies for everybody today.
I must have overlooked the regular. Okay.
Can I grab one for Eric from the special?
Here's the extra copy. I must have grabbed two.
Regular, special.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Special
Thanks, sir.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. It was a short meeting.
So John, how do they look?
Pretty good. I'm okay with it.
I'd entertain a motion.
So move.
Second.
So we have a motion to approve the minutes from July 6th and the minutes from July 28th. Any comments on those minutes at this point in time? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. We have approval of minutes. Okay, brings us to public comment. Seeing none, we'll move on to communication items. Does anybody have communication items they'd like to throw in at this point in time? Seeing none, we're down to the purpose of meeting, discussion of potential action on safety lock completed. That's monumental.
Do those speakers work at the table?
They do, yes.
So that Jerry can sit up there?
Yep.
This one.
Thank you.
Jerry provided a handout for everyone. Okay, Jerry, you want to walk us through them?
Okay, on page 1, as you can see, that's just the front look at it. I put we got a chain winch there. That thing's over 200 some pounds, hanging free. I put as you can see, a speed handle on there, a suicide handle. Page 1, that of course. Page 2 just shows you the welding, welded to that back wall. That's pivot. That's a pivot point, of course, up there. Page 3, those pulleys are older than the rest of all of us combined, probably. Those are from home I've had for a long time, didn't know what to do with them, so this came up. And the reason I have 2 pulleys there on page 3, I had the brackets made, and the shackles, and as you can see on that screw jack, that moves as you can run to page 5. That will slide. Of course, that's the piece that drops into that collar on the rams there, okay, as you look through it. The reason the rope is there, as that threaded rod screw itself comes out further, you're getting it's the weight of it at the joint of the black collar joint where it goes into that sleeve. Of course, as you know, it comes out further and further wherever that gate is. Well, you have to bring that. So when we put it in, everything was fine, but you have to lift up on the handle as you're screwing it, backing it out to bring it further back or whatever location you need to be at. And I'm going, that takes forever. So that's where I came up, well, maybe pulleys, the double pulleys. We got to be someplace, okay. So I put in 1 pulley, and I'll make it quick as I can. I'm going through it, so one hand you've taken the weight off, okay, and then you can turn it in or out faster. But the further it comes out, that rope was, as you can tell, binding on the handle, and I go, well, damn, I gotta have another pulley because I have to, whatever the location is, okay, as you come further back, the rope's gonna be back here, okay, so you're trying to turn it and it's hitting the rope, so I added another pulley. I had another one, of course, you can see, and those are permanent. And of course, on page 6, that is the silver part there on the black mechanism there, the arm. That's pulled off, that cap, and that's where that brass collar sits into that, on page 7, it sits into that, and then you put the plate back on top, bolt it down, just snug it, and we're locked out. Okay, this, on page 9, you see a 4-foot breaker bar with a 2-inch. On page 9, attached to the wheel, that nut that's on there, it works. Okay, this is the ultimate thing. We gotta move it, and there's no way to move it except manually. It does turn, but you have to put some backside to it. Okay, you have 3/4 of a turn. Okay, pulling it up, reset, pull it up. It moves the gate about that far. Okay, I mean it's minimal, but it does turn it. I can move that gate. You open up the valves, and the inline valves, and you can move the gate manually. Okay, so it's doing what it's supposed to do. This is the end run here. This is what we're looking for, that we do have an option to move it. The only thing I want to purchase is a ratchet, which is about $300. Okay, the ratchet, because resetting is fine, but it's kind of nice to be doing this. I can also put a brick or cheater bar on this if I had to, but it's simple in its nature, but I mean, it works. All I can tell you, it works, it locks out. Yes, sir.
So let me ask you, instead of, I see you're using the breaker bar, which is a lot of work to reset, and then you're even talking about a ratchet.
Yes, sir.
Wouldn't a battery-operated impact wrench?
Well, I'm looking at that. There's some serious torque. It takes two guys on that wheel to try to even turn it, and it only goes so far. Okay, that's why we went this route. But I'm looking at the worst-case scenario. Okay, I'm going to look at, I agree with you, something that electric or battery-operated.
Some of them are putting like 2,500 pounds of thrust, which is a lot.
Yes, sir.
And you can also, it's a variable speed, so it might be something that in an emergency situation, you'd be able to use that versus even a ratchet. So just a
No,
thought.
I agree. I'd like to have both options if the money allows, but I want to see where I can find something like that. I've been in touch with the maintenance gentleman at Elmer's and the equipment they use and different things, and I bought this bar. We also can use that for breaker bar around here with our tractors. Okay, so it really wasn't totally for the dam, but that through Arts Auto, we purchased it with. So regarding that, any questions on that?
If you want to try a battery one sometime, let me know.
You
I
have
got
something?
one.
It's got a
Let's see if
1-inch
it's
drive
got
on
it.
it, or
Huh?
you can adapt to 1 inch?
I can adapt.
Okay. I'd
We
like
could
to
give
try
it a
that.
try and see if that would help you.
As long as there's something to hold on, probably a two-man job
Well, let me know.
Because that's some serious,
We can
weight.
give it a try.
on there. Okay, appreciate that. Before we purchase it, yeah. Yes, sir.
What's the situation where you need to turn that? Every time that you lock the gates, then you need to get the breaker bar out?
So the breaker bar is, if the time comes where we have to manually move that gate, we're not stuck, okay? We can, it may take days, but we can move the gate. That's on the worst case scenario. That's what I was looking at. And what y'all talking about with a, drill or impact type thing, or I wouldn't say an impact, I wouldn't want that. But it does turn, it will turn, it does pull that gate up, and that's what I was looking for.
So if the
So we're
gate-
not stuck in, gee golly, we don't know what to do.
Yeah, so if the gate operation failed, you can
Totally.
use this to
Correct.
adjust the gate. if need be.
God forbid that happens, but yeah, we're not, it's not gonna stop us. Okay, we're not, right at, what I wanted, we're not, at the mercy of anything. Okay, Mother Nature, yes, unless something, but we can control it ourselves. And that's a big deal. So I'm real happy with it, works well. Did lock it out. Of course, the next information I give you, I will show you when I went out to grease it. Any other questions on that?
John?
I'm going to regress a little bit. This dam is going to be 20 years old here in a few years. And when we built
05,
it,
06, yeah.
what's that?
Yeah, in about 4 years.
Yeah. When we built it, they didn't put in a means to manually lift it and lower it. And they didn't put a means in to lock it. This job, and I really congratulate Jerry for following a lot of this through, this device was made as a safety lock. It was Jerry's idea that, let's see if we can't operate this manually if we have to. And the remote, we've got backup power, we got this, it can operate on one cylinder, we got backup devices in there to operate electrically. If we ever had to move it manually, this will work. I, over the last 2 years, went over that design with Machine real carefully as we did it. That report and all the construction, Jerry, and all the certs and all that is in your control, or is it in the clerk's file, or what? But complete final drawings with, remember all those weld reports and all the tests and stuff? And who did this and all that? Where are they at?
The clerk has some, but on this, I have the prints.
What's
I
that?
have the prints for this lockout mechanism.
You have the prints, but where is the construction file? Is that with the contractor?
That's with the contractor right now. I don't have that.
Do you
Steve,
think we should
I
have
haven't
that
seen it.
construction file too?
I don't know what their blueprint
It tells
is.
you who was on it, and who the certs were, and the testing that they did, and all that, because there was a lot of heat
It'd be
treatment
through
involved.
Machin probably in Fisher, right?
So you have one copy of the construction drawing?
Correct. Or the blueprint, not the construction drawing, the blueprint.
So this device, correct me if I'm wrong, stays out of the way
That's
on
what-
your pulleys
I see
up in
page
the air.
one, that's a winch above it, yeah, that's,
And if we gotta lock it out, he raises the dam, does what he wanna do, you lower this thing, he's got that speed handle on it, it fits in place, he bolts it down, and that stays there, and then he can go do his work. If for any reason this thing was way down, you could inch it up. I am a little bit leery on putting all that force on a little 1-inch nut there.
that's a 2-inch nut, John.
The nut is, but the thread's there, that's a 1-inch shaft.
That's big. It's big.
And to lift that all up, anyway,
That's for emergency anyway, basically, isn't it?
it is sorta,
But it can be done, so. we're
but
not
it can be
stuck.
done, and that's what
Bottom line.
he's saying. If we had a tool, now's the time to do it. I thought he was gonna use a cheater bar like we use at the power plants to turn it by the handle, not on that little nut, but the shear
I
force.
would have to think that nut would be 10 times stronger than that little handle. The circumference of that bolt's a lot.
Well, there's only a few little threads on that nut that's gotta take up that shear force, but whatever. Hopefully, we never have to use it. Was that force strain gauge put in at the same time?
The what?
That strain gauge and pin, did you replace that at the same time? Did that get done?
The string gauge.
We got that, there was one
No.
pin that's been bad for 3
Oh,
years.
that
the
pin,
cylinder
the, yeah, the transducer pin was.
The yeah, it's got a little strain gauge in it. Was that changed out
Yeah, we did that at the same time,
at the same time?
yeah.
We should put it in our minutes that,
Yeah, we can go right into Jerry's number 2, the dam
Oh.
maintenance.
okay.
That, and he'll cover that plus some other things. Why don't we do that?
Okay, regarding that, that was replaced at the same time, the one on the left in that first picture, so that's in play. Plus, we have backup. Yeah, I have 1, 2, 1. I have a backup, brand new backup for that, so. We didn't replace the other one because it was fine.
Yeah, it's nice to have the locking mechanism to be able to do the lock and then go ahead and replace the pins. We could replace the pump, we could replace the valve. We could do any of those long list of maintenance items without worrying about having one cylinder hold it while we're working on a second cylinder, which is also possible, but it's just really nice to have the mechanical lock. And Jerry made use of it there. That's really good. I think. Sorry, Jerry.
No, that's fine. I just don't want to hold you guys up anymore than I have to, dog. Ready for the next step?
You bet.
Okay. Regarding the greasing of the dam gate, we went after this in October.
Thank you.
Pictures sideways.
Thanks, Jerry.
So there. My partner, Dwayne Flasco, is with me, of course. So, just, it's also the pictures taken to show page 2 to get out there, page 3, what it takes to get out onto the decking. And were strapped and, you know, had a rope to me. Doesn't help you if you decide to slip and nail your head, but, you know, fortunately, the Lake Michigan was down a little bit, so we didn't have to worry about the water being the same height as that decking. On page 6, 7, there's just 2, or 3 of them, I should say, 6, 7. Issue. The greasing of grease fittings, it took, I pumped in 10 shots, but it didn't take, one of them I put in 6 pumps, but most of them took 3 pumps and the grease starts squirting out. So it didn't take any effort. It's not like anything was seized up or gummed up inside. As we all know, in greasing, it would be great if we could be greasing as we're moving the gate, you know, to get the grease, you know, but I'm not that skinny and I can't hold my breath that long, so everything looked like it would, I suppose, underwater, you know, being underwater and constant. The second, I didn't take a picture of that, which I should have, but the second, what I want to call the stanchion or where the grouting was an issue, the sleeve that would be over to the left side. It wasn't compromised. There's a piece out of the corner by one of the bolts, but
Is that on a photo here?
it's not in the photo, but it was minimal. It hadn't changed. I think it was like that when we first greased it. There was a problem with that one corner.
Yeah,
Concrete.
the grout.
The grout.
Grout, okay.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
grout.
but the bolts are fine. The seals on the side were good. Minimal leakage. It wasn't spurting out, you know, on the rubber seals on both sides of the gate. So that also, when the time comes, hopefully when we do go after a ladder and access, you would still want to harness up and a rope from up top, but accessing it would be a whole lot simpler and safer to go up and over. That's what I'm looking for on the inside of that door on page 1, just on the inside. That's where that ladder would go up the wall, over the top, you know, come down. It would be much safer.
So, looking at page number 3, so are you actually scaling over that concrete wall?
Yes, sir, let myself over the top of the railing, and then
That's
lay
fine.
on the wall and set yourself down on that edge.
And then, are you hooked up to a tripod?
No tripod, just a rope from up top. There's, you can just barely see the rope hooked me up from up top. Dwayne hooked me up. So I wouldn't go over the edge into Lake Michigan, but I would be on the edge, you know, but that was the only harness. I was harnessed, tied.
Yeah, I see that.
See how he has that?
So, and I took a steel brush. The pad was a little greasy, not quite as bad as when we went out, but I was able to find some rough spots. But you know, you knock the goodies off, and it was good walking. Just take your time.
Keep in mind, like on page 2, see that railing? The customer put that in, and it made it more difficult for Jerry to grease. That was never there before.
It
And
was
he could
lower.
just,
It was lower.
it was lower, and he could step over it. And so now he's got to really step over it. Jerry, how does those bushing surfaces look like?
Just as you see in page 6.
Yeah, page 6 I had.
They're just, they look fine. They weren't, I wouldn't say pitted, but they were rough from the nature's material.
The piece that would have to be replaced, I believe, is on the block
Yeah, right.
And you can see in the right photo, page 6, where the grease is coming out.
Almost like a
You
brake
can-
pad.
You can get an idea how much wear there would be on a very thin layer of the bearing surface there, which is a softer material compared to the shaft itself. I'm really impressed with that photo. It shows a substantial amount on that bearing surface. It wasn't very thick to begin with. It appears very similar to the way it looked when it was installed. I feel good about looking at that photo. That looks good. Jerry, was this your phone that you took that with?
Pardon me?
Did you take these with your phone?
Took with Dwayne's phone, and the
Okay.
first pictures I took with my camera, regular handheld camera, the first.
So, so do you have those on your
I
computer
have them on the
then?
computer. I can forward them to whomever, you or whatever they are.
And Dwayne still has them on his phone probably?
He does. I have them on mine and plus on my
I
computer.
think I maybe want to intercept him at some point to take and expand that photo so I can get a good idea on the gauge of the thickness there. But just looking at it from that angle, and the way the grease is coming out on the side of it, feel pretty good about those surfaces from the outside looking in. Bob?
I'm just wondering if we could kind of treat this like a confined entry. We log it, we have a tripod, you set up a tripod because if something were to happen, like let's say he was to fall or had some kind of a medical emergency, who's to say that whoever you have out there with you is going to be strong enough to get you back to where you need to be, where you're safe, or that they're going to be able to get to you? I mean, I know, I'm just looking at these pictures, and I'm looking how he's scaling down, but with a tripod at least, it's got a crank on it, and it hooks to your back,
Yeah.
and it can pull you back to safety, thus not putting someone else in harm's way.
So, does a county road have one, or do you have one, or
The-
should we buy a tripod?
The village has one
Village
for
has one?
doing a confined space entry.
Okay.
Every time that we did a confined space entry, we also let the fire department know that we were going, it was normally below the ground, below the surface, but, I mean, in a situation like that, especially when things have been underwater, they tend to get a little slippery. So I was just thinking that maybe, and they're not very expensive, the tripod, it's an aluminum tripod, just set it up. And, you know, you put it in place, it just, it's a second layer of protection to you.
Well, the tripod you're talking about, I have the aluminum one out here plus a winch for going in my tanks out here that I used to, but I don't anymore because certification issues and I just, you know, we need to get into our sewer tanks, but I used to,
So we do have. a
do
tripod.
have that, but when you're talking about tripod, where would you set the tripod up?
You could set the tripod anywhere you wanted to, and actually you could have tap guns put into the concrete so you could set it down, bolt it on, where the tripod would stay in place, it wouldn't move. And your cable goes out and you have a long enough cable, so if there's a problem, you set it and just start cranking the person back in.
Right, got the I have that, I guess we'll have to talk about it later, because I was thinking of,
And maybe it wouldn't work, I don't know if you have a surface that you would be able to set that in place, but it was just, you know, what would happen, you know, God forbid that something happened to you or someone else that might be out there. Is that other person being the only person going to be able to get you back to safety without putting themselves in harm's way?
well, the decking, you could put something over the top from above to winch somebody back up over the gate onto the decking, or you're talking about something on the lower deck that you can retrieve somebody to pull them back, is what you're saying, is that correct?
Either way, whatever.
That'd probably be, or for me, it just shove you down into the lake and then you can float your ass, you know, pick it up down by the ramp. But anyway, by that time, but no, it's a good idea, never thought about that. But yeah, because Dwayne couldn't pull me out, so.
If, I guess that would, be part of the equation, even if we do the ladder.
I can look into
For
that
easy
angle.
access, we still probably want
You could still set
Figure
up a
we-
ladder with some kind of a
to,
winch
we
system.
still want to figure out some kind of a tripod winch situation. Why don't you, Jerry, maybe
would
for the
be-
next meeting, bring your ideas on that and.
I would like to do something off the deck or up above, so it's
Right.
not
Well,
in
even if you-
in the walkway,
Even
or
if
in
you
the,
didn't have to use a tripod, if you had a spot where if you did it off the deck, where you had a
Hook a winch up.
winch system that you could pull it up.
high speed or low speed. I'm trying to be a smart ass. Give her hell. You know, but no, I agree, it's a great idea. Never thought of that. You know, you don't think about that. Yes, John?
On page 6, what is that photo of the left-hand side?
Page 6. What is what?
What is that left photo?
Left photo, I wasn't sure what he took there. I'm not sure of that.
It looks like a little seepage.
I think it's the seepage, that's the side, looking at that, and
If
almost,
you
that's the
hold it-
wall, that's the
You
wall.
hold it like
water,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit of seepage coming from,
By the rubber
Yeah.
seal.
yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
of
that's
seepage.
more smooth.
When you're facing the dam where you are, what we're gonna call the right side, there's a seal that's kind of rolled, and it's been holding now for years. I looked at it when I was diving down there. It pops up on some of our report. It just looks like it's just there and it's hanging right in there till when we ever fix that gate or repair it or sandblast it and replace the seals. But that looks okay from the downstream side? There's no
Yeah,
photo of it.
no,
here, but
it's fine.
It looks in pretty good shape.
Yep, yep. Okay, next.
Yes.
Okay, I've got, John, I want to bring this up too regarding, well, this kind of,
Is this the last one you've got, Jerry?
this is the last one. John gave pictures of the decking. Now, do we want to talk about that now, or do we want to wait?
You got something to add to it?
Well, it's all,
Well, we can talk about it now, because you and
Is
I
it-
were the ones that went out. and looked.
So this is, we can, are we approaching the deck, wooden deck walkway
yeah,
topic?
there's two deals on there, at least there was on the,
We can go to.
We can go to that. Let's go to item
number
4,
That's your call.
condition of wooden walkway.
you want to wait on the calibrating, you want to do that first, and then condition walk, what do you want to do?
I don't know, it's a chair.
You want to?
Get it done, boys.
I'll wait.
What are you
Let's go
ready
through the
for,
agenda.
Jared?
I don't want to do anything illegal. No, you know,
Okay,
I
well,
mean-
let's just follow the agenda then.
Okay.
Checking and calibrating level sensors open.
That's on the agenda because we were wondering from a couple readings we took a few years ago where the sensors are with regards to the fixed elevations. And they replaced the M204 bridge last summer, like 15 months ago. And they set a new benchmark there. And the state set it. And then I had the state, we took a ride down to the one at Birch Point, and we verified that one. So all those elevations are set. And then I went out there with Cal, and we did some water measurements, and the sensors are off a little bit. We did a little run on it and corrected some and see what it looks like, but we didn't change anything. So the only thing I want to do, Jerry, is go down to that dam one day, because I went down to the dam and checked that sensor against the actual levels and measured everything, and that sensor seems to be right on. But I want to go down in there with you and look at that one on the wall. So we verified them all. There's no, I don't think there's something should be corrected at this time. They're off by a couple inches, but if anybody's ever looked at those graphs, they're really nice and spread out to where you can see them. It turns out that if you had to adjust them, the South Lake and the Narrows, they're darn near right on top of each other. They're so flat you can't make any sense out of them. To have a little spread kind of shows what what it is, and we got history with that spread. Jerry looks at that one by the bridge. The stick on a bridge is a little bit off also, which I mentioned 3 or 4 years ago. So I don't think anything needs to be done. We checked everything. And then I had the surveyor come out from someone I know from Traverse City with his survey equipment, and we measured the new monument that's in the bridge, measured it to what Vicky verified that water level was before, and everything is within three digits, thousandths of an inch, hundredths of an inch. So the monument's set correct. We checked the stake that's in the water at Birch Point, that's set correct. And what we want to do with our level sensors is up to us, and right now it's a tool and they seem to be working fine.
Thank you. Let's move on to 4 then.
Okay.
Condition of the wooden walkway.
Okay, this, John's handed out pictures, these pictures I took, pretty much coincide with what John's got, but I don't want to take the paper back with me, I'll let you guys. Didn't know John was gonna be doing that, so. John and I talked about the walkway, made some comments about it. It's starting to get to the point of, we've replaced some boards, but the biggest issue we have right now is the screws, deck screws that are into the nailer. There's a nailer that runs on top of all those I-beams, as you know, okay? And some places are starting to rot. Of course, they would, because they're laying flat and water sits and as time goes. The other discussion, you know, looking, you know, 4 or 5 grand or whatever. I was looking at numbers for wood and different things, but online, and for treated lumber, 2x6s, the spindles. It's 50-50, in my opinion, at this point in time. Something that I feel personally should be addressed or looked at. I'm not real thrilled with the, as the 4x4s, the vertical 4x4s that are tied into the deck, which in turn, everything's tied into those. Spots along the front of the facing downstream, as you're standing on the deck looking down to Lake Michigan. I've always been concerned about the movement. Okay, you get a lot of weight, and because of time, it's been since '05. That thing was built in place in '06, the early
Yeah.
spring of '06.
Yeah.
Was set, but time and whatnot, there's a concern there with the 4x4s. And you get people out there, it changes from year to year. But who's leaning on it, who's looking over? I think something needs to be looked at. Sure, it's fine right now, but if you really want to get on it, we're past that point of being strong, and now we're going the other side, I think. But we don't know if it's going to give or if it's not. It's not going to give, okay? But it's something we need to look at, I feel. And John and I also talked about, I'm kind of moving ahead here. This is back to the dam gate. If we have to dewater, meaning if we raise the gate and we need to work on those seals or paint, which is coming up, or, you know, whatever we may have to do. I brought one of these beams. They're 100 and some pounds, and this one drops in. This is the downside, as you all know. I'm sure you figured it out. And under the walkway, as you're looking downstream towards Lake Michigan, there's sleeves on this side of the gate, okay, down at the base.
In the concrete.
In the concrete. And what, 19 of them, 18 of them, something like that. I have all these stacked out in the pole barn. They've been there since, '09. Okay, and the question begs is to get those in place in those holes, square holes underwater. I believe this is maybe 6 feet, maybe, when it sits down there. And if we have high water and whatnot, we wouldn't be dewatering. But to put those in place, it's going to take, you can't do it from up top as it sits right now, because as you're standing looking down, you look underneath the walkway I-beam, and that's where those ports are. The decking should be back if you want to work off the deck. If you don't, over the top of the railing to set these in. Or you have to have a flat bottom boat or flat boat, barge of some kind, so two guys can set those in as long as the water's not moving. And then, I don't know, this is a question I have. We put these beams in. I don't know what their plan was to, I don't have how they're gonna put plywood in or what they're going to put in.
I've got those plans. It's 2x material. I believe it's 2x12s. Cut to the proper length.
Right.
It's
Okay.
slid in. You'll see it's,
Okay.
yeah, it's a 2x material, 2x12s.
Yeah, they slide into that channel iron.
So this,
And they slide right into that channel iron.
right, these channels here.
Right.
Okay,
So you've got a series of these poles set,
correct.
and then
I didn't bring a tape, but
the proper cut 2x12s get slid down.
similar to the other side where the I-beams are for the overflow side of the dam.
Once those 2x12s are slid down into place, then a membrane gets attached against the 2x and out, and it gets weighted on the bottom side, and that's upstream. So you've got an impervious surface, a membrane, and it's held by the posts and the 2x material behind it. So the strength is there, the membrane gets set in place that's impervious, and you've, in essence, made yourself a chamber that's watertight on the dam side. So at that point in time, once it's in place, you can let the dam down, the water that's behind it exits, and now you've got the dam moving free without any water against it. You can paint it, you can do the seals on it, whatever you need to do on that dam, you can do because the water is being held back by this. All of the water will be going through the
South bay.
mechanical side, pull enough aluminum boards out of that, so it's a bypass. So all of the water's going through on the bypass while we service the dam. And this was put together by Thomas ahead of time. I mean, he envisioned this when he designed the dam. The only thing that we wish he would have envisioned a little bit more carefully is where to put the walkway per se versus those holes. Could have probably designed a walkway placement that would facilitate this. However, to do it, we need a dive team. So we're going to hire, at this point in time, somebody like Fisher that'll put a dive team in here and set this, and then we have our dewatering system. It's like a $30,000 thing to do, to bring the dive team in, get the board, membrane, get it set. So when we do that, we've been kind of brainstorming a little bit and just thinking out loud. If we're gonna set up this dewatering system, let's do a bunch of work while we're doing it. Because we don't want to drop 30 grand to set it up and then have to do it again in 3 or 4 years. Why don't we coordinate a little bit and say, okay, let's redo the seals. Let's scrape and paint, or at least scrape it down, and paint if we at all need to, so we can kind of stack these big items back to back and get them all done at once. So in the overall budgets that we've looked at and John's helped put together, we've kind of looked at, you know, how much is due to seals, how much to do the de-water, how much to do the paint. And they're all pretty big ticket items, but none of them need to be done right now. And we've talked a little bit about, well, why don't we just do the de-watering to make sure we can do it and it goes together right? Well, we could do that, but it would cost $30,000 just to see if it works. The design is there, the pieces are there. In my mind, I'm confident that the system would function. We could do it if we needed to, and at some point in time we will. The only question is when. John?
I want to cover what Jerry did here, and we went out and looked at that, and I got this set of pictures here.
Oh, back to the decking,
Yes,
sorry.
yeah, let's get back to the
Digress.
decking.
I digress.
And
But this all ties in, guys.
it does,
Yeah.
but some of the stuff that he mentioned, I want to address that here. So on that first page of the picture that I got, I spent one whole morning looking at that on what we own and what was put in and what was contracted. It's only that portion between those yellow arrows. I looked at what Wannery, is that his name? Ron Roy, what they did and what we put in, and we only go to the edge of that galvanized. And the lower picture on that page 1, that is the end of what we own, right there.
The lower picture?
The lower picture, I got the end of it there, and the upper picture kind of shows the length of it. Then page 2 has a little bit closer details of what's bad. There's railings that are bad. You can snag your hands on them. Page 3 shows where Jerry put in a whole bunch of screws to take care of that railing where it is really bad. These are just 1x6s, I think. Bottom of page 3 shows where some of these boards are already curling up. Now keep in mind, this thing is 18 years old or so, or whatever, and a deck on a house would last that long. If we're gonna put something in a budget, we gotta have it submitted next year. So we got about 12 months to come up with something. There's many of them that are warped, page 4. Some of them are curling up. So then I looked at how the thing was constructed. This thing was built for about, I think, 20 grand in the budget. It was just a line item. And when they built the thing, I went through every one of those line items. This one didn't change. Some of the others changed because we did it at a different time of the year. And this is kind of simple in that these railings, if you go look at it, they're done in certain sections. They drop right in and they bolt it to the galvanized. And looking at that means that it doesn't have to be built in place. You could build these in a remote workshop and come and lower the things in place. They're really
That's
easy.
the railing?
Yeah, this is the railing.
It's a separate piece from the deck.
Yes. Yeah, page 5 kind of shows it a little bit. Those railings slide down in there and they just put the bolt and they're very easy to get at. So if someone had to bid and work on it, so they can be replaced. My yellow thing on the bottom of page 5, the railings can be replaced. However, like Jerry mentioned, this deck needs to lift out. And I recommend galvanized grading when we come to do it, so that it can address the same stuff that Jerry is. That present wooden deck, you can't do a dang thing with it. You can't lift it out. If he had to get down there and lower something, But nice, small, removable galvanized grates there will last forever. From then on, all we got to do is replace the wooden railing, whoever takes our places.
What, if I may,
Bob, go ahead.
talking about the galvanized, that's a lot of weight if you're talking about removable. One thing that comes to mind with me is like Instadoc, how they build their aluminum setup, and then it's like a fiberglass on top, doesn't fade from the sun. It's got like a 20, 25-year warranty on it. I mean, it's pretty amazing. But it's very easy to remove. It's not heavy.
So
Galvanized is extremely heavy.
So we'd have a couple options as we're looking at this. I was, in my mind, I was thinking of those docks. What I liked about those docks I've been on, those, just like what you're talking about, I've had my feet on several of them, and they're not slippery at all.
No.
They're designed to be not
Anti-slip.
slippery, and that's what came to my mind. Whatever we put there would have to be not slippery.
And the other thing that I thought about too, if it didn't have to be removed, was like maybe a composite material as far as longevity. But I think the whole aluminum dock system, you could use that, the walk portion of the dock, and set it in there where you could pin it.
Pin it,
Because that's
yeah,
how they're
bolt
built,
it,
is to be pinned. And you pull those pins and then lift it out to do whatever work you need. If that would coincide with what you're
Garth,
talking
comment?
about.
Yeah, and with Bob's comment about having a lift in there, if the
I'm
deck
gonna
is
get to that,
removable,
yeah.
you could put the lift, and you could actually drop the beams down without having to have a dive team. There may be situations where we want to
It
get
would-
that installed in a fairly short period of time.
Yeah, I want to
help-
get,
it would
I
help
want to
with
come to
that,
that
yeah.
thing. On page 6, I shot underneath the deck, and those are big, heavy, big galvanized beams. And the deck then itself can be lifted off with just a very few amount of bolts, whatever we decide to make it out of, whether it's wood, galvanized, composite, or something. So that's the shot underneath. Now, on top of page 6, you can see if that deck was removed, you can then go straight down to where these things have to go in. And if we have to ever dewater it, it's gonna be so expensive to have someone work in the water and get these things done, where a guy could just blow those holes right out and then just lower these things right in. So it's kind of open underneath. On that top of that page 6, see there in the middle where I say bolt? These are only held in there, I don't know, every 5 or 6, 8 feet. So this deck can come off in a flash. It isn't like you gotta cut and chainsaw the whole thing out. And it was built remotely and set in place. And we could also have a composite deck or a galvanized deck, whatever we decide on. So the bottom of page 6, I got that yellow thing there. See those holes? Those are the holes that Jerry is talking about. And you can't get at them with that deck in a way. And this present deck has got some real nice supports. It's just that it's made out of wood and it's falling apart. So see where it says gate? That dewatering thing is pretty close to that gate. The gate's on your right-hand side on the bottom of page 6. That's the gate. The deck sits directly over those holes. And if they gotta do anything to that gate, like power wash it or whatever, you'll have this little dam ahead of it. Now, there isn't that much room, but with the camera I showed, it is under the deck. So, the last page, I just got my 2 cents in. I think keeping the wood railing would fit in with the neighborhood. However, the decking needs to be removable with something. Now, about a half hour ago, we talked about the safety tripod. This would be a good time then with this to put in a stanchion there along with it. And then we would have this thing so that when they go work on it, you
The
put
winch.
that safety
Safety
stanchion
line.
in. That thing could have that boatsman thing with him, and as he walks around and does it, and if something happened or he tripped, you could crank him up and then
They're
wheel him right
extremely
around.
handy. They really
wheel them right around, put them right in the gurney right there.
It really does.
No, and this, I think we could, instead of designing something else, let's just put a nice little piece and be ready and be having something constructed there. We might have to lower tools for all I know someday, I don't know. But
No,
anyway,
Be a cat's ass, I think.
the reason I put it in today, because we don't have anything in the budget, and it's still in fairly good shape, it's not unsafe, but we gotta come up with something, a plan that we look at, because by October, we have to have it set in the budget. And in the meantime, I'm not gonna go out for bids then, but in the meantime, we gotta hire somebody, say, give us an estimate of what you think it would take, so I can put a budget item. You know, someone's gonna have to drive, look at it, and say, you know, if I had to build this in the garage, and I put composite, or I put grading, or I did that, what would it cost us? And we say, well, it might cost you so many this and that, and that'll be then we can give it to the commissioners that we wanna replace this in 2023.
We'll have to have a number before we do the budget in June. So between now and then, it would be good to have one or two people work with Jerry, flesh out some ideas, so by the time we get to our next meeting, that committee can present, say, well, we thrashed it around and this costs this much per section, this costs this much per section, these are our options, and we can make a decision at our next meeting to have a more solid number ready for the June budget, so we can get that in. Also, I'll take a look at the CIP and make sure we get our stuff into the CIP for the county commissioners. So they just don't want to be surprised. So this is good that we're looking at this. Good timing, I think. Who wants to work with Jerry and Bob and John? Can you both work with Jerry and flesh this thing out? Just set up your own schedule between now and our next meeting. Allison, our next meeting is,
You do not have another meeting set right now.
say it again?
You do not have another meeting set currently. This is
We were only through this meeting.
your last, your last
year.
that was already annual, yeah.
So the next meeting should be early in the year, and
It would be your organizational.
organizational plus this.
January 4th is our first road commission meeting of the year.
That's our road commission meeting?
Yeah, it's first Tuesday.
Well, if we have BPW put on their show, that takes a big presentation.
I don't have the BOC stuff in
No,
here
no.
as far as schedule right
If we
now,
do that
so.
one and the Dan thing and that, I'm thinking one or the other on that road commission date, or have the BPW and the dam. Two separate meetings, but separate from the road, I don't know.
Steve,
I'd rather do it all in one.
I know it. If you want to meet here at 8 in the morning, I'll be here.
Well, you
No
know,
problem, 5 will work for me.
I can look at the BOC calendar that they already have set for their January stuff to make sure, and then
Excellent idea.
I'll just send it
Yeah.
out to you guys for you to take a look at and toss around whatever you want to set up for
Yeah,
those meetings.
we could tentatively set it same day. I think if we did BPW and Dam Authority, and then take a little break, and then go to road commission, does that make sense? When does the road commission?
One.
It's at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, so if we did ours in the morning, took a little break, and then went to yours, everybody could carry a sandwich. If it's a half hour
Well,
break.
you look at the
whatever.
schedule then and whatever. You're
Let's
still the
look,
chair,
let's
actually.
tentatively say that date then, can we do that by consensus? Try to get it in one day, I like Jim's ideas, and, yeah.
What was that date?
4th.
The 4th of January.
Actually, it's Greg's idea, everything at once, let's get it all done. That would simplify our lives. Okay, well, January 4th would be and then so the committee, with Jerry, John and Bob, between now and January 4th.
I think December would probably be good for me, Jerry. I mean, the rest of November's kind of tied up.
We expect venison jerky on January 4th.
Not a problem.
December?
Yeah.
We'll pick a day in December
Like maybe the 24th, 25th.
to draw on it, yeah.
November 15th would be a good day.
Is that Steve Ray?
In McAllen.
I know.
All right, anything else on calibration or condition of walkway? I think we're heading to number 5.
Yep.
Budget meeting. You've got a couple of handouts. You've got the adopted budget, and you've got the notes that Jen put together. Thank you, Jen. John and I and Chet sat in front of the Board of Commissioners and presented, and they adopted. We have money in there for the access ladder. We have money in there for the triannual inspection. We have money in for an appraisal, which is mandated by the state of Michigan now after all of the dam issues with some failures in the state with the flash flooding. I was tasked to ask Spicer if they would put together how much that would be. Sean Middleton from Spicer is going to prepare a proposal for each, and that'll give us direction as we move forward in 2022. I did talk to the new dam guy, Mr. Scales, and is that right? I'm sorry, Michael Size, and we will be doing the triannual this year. The last one we did was Spicer, and ideally we could have them again. We'll just have to see how that goes as far as going out to bid and all. I believe we can get in under the requirement for bid with them. We'll see what happens. Appraisal, we may have to go out to bids. We'll just walk through the process with Chet and the county rules on that. I think that's all I've got. And you've got the adopted budget. We're at 29. And then the notes with regard to the meeting. John, what did I miss?
Well, in summary, we got $29,000 for next year. Right?
Right.
Then, right after the first of the year, Jerry can go get this drawing done. We could vote on it in January. They would give him authorization to go ahead and proceed. We don't have to go in front of the board anymore with that. Because the only reason we went in front of the board is there was no money. So we've been given authorization. Safety access ladder design and fabrication, a 10 grand.
We'll just march through, and that, good point.
So in January, we want to authorize him.
And install.
Well, we first got to get the drawing, then we got to determine whether we want to single source it.
So
But
you're-
yes, the installation is part of that.
Can I add to that? After talking with people regarding the $975 we wanted to get the CAD drawing, it will be more next year.
He'd be what?
It's going to be more money than that next year.
Oh, to build it?
No, for the CAD drawing.
Do the CAD drawing.
More than $900?
Do we know how much?
No, I don't at this time. I haven't, but to get what we need, I think it's going to, indication probably going to be a little bit more than that.
Little
Like I
bit.
said, you know,
We can
we had
talk
a deal
about
at
it
the
in
time, but
January.
they didn't want to spend 975, so now I think it's possible it's gonna be over, 1,100, 1,200, I don't know. I don't want to put a number, I don't know. Let me just, retract on that statement, I don't want to say.
All right.
Possibly it's going to be more money than what I had asked for, that we had originally.
Can you
Until I
talk
get,
to
till
them like in December, so that by the time we have our January meeting, you'll have a
okay.
kind of an idea what we're
Right,
looking at?
what we're looking at, yeah. It could be less, could be more, but all indication, we're gonna be higher than that number, but we'll see.
And
I just want you to be aware.
So anyway, that money has already been approved for next year, and in January, we should talk about it. And you might
Well,
have-
see, I'll get you a number
And
that's closer to.
I think when we talked last, we went through the procedure to get the number, and you presented
Correct,
and it needs to be on a letterhead and,
all that good stuff, right. It will be, I'm just, at this point in time, we have the design. It's a matter of now, it's in January, but I'll see what number we're at before, we'll talk about in January.
yeah, if you
Go out.
have a number
Yeah,
for us
done,
in
sure.
January, yeah, that'd be
But-
good.
That's the best I can do with that one, but we'll see.
No problem.
And then you talked briefly, I'm not sure the rest of the board knows, but there's a letter written that we gotta do an appraisal on this dam.
Yeah, the state of Michigan's requiring that.
They're requiring that we've gotta come up what the worth is, and they put in $3,000 to $4,000 in our budget. We gotta find someone that can say, what is this dam worth?
Yeah, Sean Middleton from Spicer is gonna do a proposal for that and a proposal for the triennial both.
And-
So we'll have two things to look at,
In January.
and that'll give us a direction
All
with
right.
regard to how we have to proceed with those two items for the 2022 year.
So that was our budget meeting, and this is the approved budget, 29,000, and we gotta be ready to talk about that in January. In the speech.
Very nice. Anything else, any other comments or questions on 2021 budget meeting for the year 2022?
This is next year. I would like to go after the roofing issue down at the dam, about repairing or sealing the roof. I'd gotten a number of years back, but I would like to go after, readdress that, bring it back up next
can
year
you,
for 2023 budget.
Right, can you bring
I'll get you some
your
numbers or
latest
get some
and your
ideas.
latest and greatest
I
for the January meeting?
Well, he
Correct.
said he'd like to do it in 2023.
Right, I mean.
Correct.
But we
And then
gotta have it ready
talk
for
about
next
it in the
year.
January meeting, because we've got to have it in CIP and we've got to have it in the budget
I see.
in June.
Right,
That's when we
but that's,
go for our budget.
I just want to ask, that's okay to do that? If I can go ahead and get that, because I'd like you guys to consider addressing that, which we did a few years ago. Back, it was 2019. Yeah, 2019 is when I was working on it before. That's to re-slope it or change the slope, so the water runs off the roof instead of sitting on top of it. So, see what I can come up with. That's the only thing I have.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else on that topic? Hearing none. Gets us to public comment.
See you guys at 1 on GoToMeeting.
What was that?
See you at 1 on GoToMeeting, and I imagine there'll be some good news about recycling. I don't know. Let's see.
Okay.
Your yard?
Authority member comments? Anyone?
I would. Jerry, thanks for all the info.
Sure, thank you for taking the time to listen. I hope we can come to some final things here in the next few years.
And to John and Steve as well.
I was waiting for that.
No, and thank you for the lockout thing. I want to tell you that sincerely. Sincerely, I want to thank you for pushing this through because I know it's costly, but any of us can go out there now and unless it was act of God, now we got it locked out. We can dance out there if we want to without.
Does OSHA need a reply to that? Because we were
No.
given a letter and they like to see follow-ups and stuff. Was that?
Well, I can contact, but they, until they come and inspect again, they want to do the walk around. Whenever that happens, they just happen to show up, then I'll say, hey, here's what we do. I can.
But in their report, they put it, it's report number
I
such
can
and such.
send him a report or just an information that it has been
Okay.
completed.
I don't have anything.
Anyone else? Jerry, thanks for your
Thank
work.
you. Thank you.
It's all precise, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you got any.
I would entertain a motion.
And I can do it.
Yeah, I think, yeah,
You can't wait on it.
no.
Thanks,
We have a motion. Is there support? Support. We are adjourned.
Every board gets like so.